So thank you so much for joining me this evening. Tonight we're going to be talking about one of my most passionate subjects when it comes to essential oils and health, being emotions. And this is just something that is a fairly new concept to me, given that I went through a good 30 years of my life not really paying much attention or having much knowledge about emotional health and well-being until the essential oils came along, and that created a huge awareness for me. So would like to kick off this evening with the question of, are you ready to feel good more often, to reduce the amount of peaks and troughs and try and regulate those emotions a little bit more? Because guess what? Emotions are normal. Everyone experiences emotions. We are all human, so we can't eliminate them completely. We can't numb them out. So let's learn how they work to begin with. So we're going to learn a little bit more about the science behind emotions and essential oils, some tools and habits that I've learned along the way that I'd like to share with you guys, and just some steps that you can take now to put in place that are powerful, and start taking those little steps. There is a lot of information in this presentation, but don't get overwhelmed, because each day, each step that you take is a step towards, health and well-being. You don't have to do everything at once. You don't have to, get the juicer, go alkaline, vegan, use the essential oils and meditate daily, and, blow your mind with the amount of stuff that you can do, right? So just one step at a time. And I wanted to talk a little bit about our body and our health as a whole. We're really taught, and on the turn of the 15th century, Descartes, he had the saying, or the quote that he's famous for: "I think, therefore I am." And unfortunately, mankind got caught up in a big mind-made or mind-identified world where whatever you thought is what you are. And yes, the mind is powerful, but we can't disregard our spirit and our body. There's a cellular intelligence and a body intelligence that we're going to talk a little bit about tonight that can't be discounted. And of course, the spiritual well-being as well, and tapping into that, and doing things that make our soul and spirit sing, because who doesn't want to feel amazing, right? So our body is made up of 30 to 40 trillion of these intelligent cells, and they're wired to be healthy. So when you have people who are chronically ill, they might be identified with an illness. One of the first things that I actually work with is forgiveness and acceptance. But then after that, teaching them that the body is actually wired to be healthy. And oftentimes we just have to get our mind out of the way to allow our body to return to its natural health. And this is why tools such as meditation and the oils, and providing the space between thought and removing those negative thoughts and emotions, is so empowering, because we're getting our mind out of the way, which is very powerful, and allowing this cellular intelligence to take over and restore health, for which we all deserve. So the way that our emotions interact with our cells is we have cell receptor sites. And the cell receptor sites is actually how we perceive our emotions, which are chemicals, and as well as the essential oils. This is how they get into our cells and actually impact the way that we function, and the way that we behave as well. So you may have a situation where it's a fight or flight situation, where you see the kid reach for a knife from the drawer or something like that, and you feel the adrenaline pump, right? So that's a hormone or a chemical that's released into our body, and then our cells pick up, they perceive that hormone, that chemical that's been released, and it sends the heart starts pumping extra fast. Our eyes dilate, And so we start to respond quicker. We get these superhuman powers when we need to, and our body it does these amazing things. What we want to make sure is we're not always in that fight or flight state, which we oftentimes are this day and age, because our minds are always going, and there's always something to think about, something else to do in our lives. So the emotions aren't just processed in our mind. Oftentimes it's the mind that that's where our emotional control center is, the hippocampus and amygdala in our brain, but they're processed through the body. So our body will function and do different things. But this is something that I share often with people, and people, it's quite surprisingly how many people don't know that we have three brains. I know I didn't before I was introduced to this. I was just always thought that we had the mind brain, the control center. I think, therefore I am, the ego, so to speak. But as well as having these, the memory functions and the mind identified self, and all of these amazing functions that the mind has, and we couldn't not do without the mind. It's when it takes over and it becomes the monkey mind is when it becomes a little dangerous, because emotions can be addictive. But there's also the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind controls all of these autonomic functions that just magically happen. So our heart beating, our breathing, peristalsis, or our food being digested. This is all done by the brain subconsciously. We don't even need to think about it. Pretty cool. But we also have a heart brain and a gut brain. So our heart brain is where we have intuition, and we pick up on intuition. You may realize this or notice this before the mind comes in, is you'll pick up on a vibe on somebody who walks into a room, for example. This is before judgment comes in and the mind starts to decipher, what they're wearing and the car they're driving and all that sort of stuff. This is the heart picking up on intuition. And the heart can actually, this has been scientifically proven, it can be measured up to 7 meters away from a person. So one practice that I regularly do, and I learned this when I was doing yoga teacher training, is coming into heart consciousness, opening the heart, unconditional love, and echoing that out into the world. And people, they do pick up on that. It's a much nicer vibe to give out rather than one of hate and unforgiveness, untrust, etc. So there's also more neural pathways from our heart to our brain than from the brain to the heart. So our heart is actually telling our brain that intuition if we just really listen to it and tune in. There's also the gut. So as well as the gut having that statistic there of 90% of serotonin and feel-good chemicals are produced in the gut, it's also where a huge amount of our immune system resides as well. And what I've found during my travels is there's usually quite a regular close link between people who suffer from anxiety and stress disorders and digestive issues such as irritable bowel syndrome. This is one thing that we discovered with Renee and introduced us to the whole emotional intelligence journey. The oils were great in helping with the symptoms of IBS, and that all started with peppermint, just a drop under the tongue. That was awesome. And then there was the root cause of the functionings of the gut, but then there was also the gut and the brain link, which is called the vagus nerve, and this is a neurological highway between the mind and the gut. So we think anxious thoughts 24/7, and our gut is releasing chemicals, and in that fight or flight response mode, then our gut's going to be out of whack. And vice versa. If our gut's out of whack, our mind's out of whack. So we're all connected as a whole. And it's very important to make sure that these three brains are all in balance of each other. And what I'm going to share with you now is a more the personal side of why I'm so passionate about emotional health is it's been a thing in my family that I witness regularly in my immediate family, and also my distant family, for lack of better words. But this is something I've seen is stress, anxiety, and depression that has been suffered. And for me, and this is usually, you see or hear people say, oh, it's hereditary. Or, if monkey see, monkey do. That's kind of the way I think about it. Your upbringing and your environment, and it has a lot to do with the person that you become. And if you're really interested in learning more about that on a cellular level, then I highly recommend reading up about Bruce Lipton's Epigenetics. And that's all about our environmental influence on our cells and our bodies and the people that we are. But it's only natural that, we're going to inherit some of these behaviors from our immediate environment. So this is something that I noticed in myself, and it was a real awakening when the oils came into our lives. And I couldn't stop my mind. I was at the mercy of the monkey mind. I was suffering from insomnia. I was stressed. Everyone has a little bit of anxiety. And I was depressed, and it wasn't a space that I wanted to be in. So for me, happiness is number one. It's the one thing that we strive for as humans. We always want to be happy, right? So the oils provided a real good invitation for me to calm the monkey mind and to escape the mind, move into body consciousness, connect to breath. I went and studied yoga and used oils, and I became a lot better at sleeping and managing those emotions of stress, anxiety, and depression. So this is just a quote that I wanted to share with you guys about depression and anxiety. So depression is usually something in the past that you're emotionally tied to, that you'll continue to cycle through in your mind. It could be a traumatic experience that you just constantly cycle and dwell upon. And it's really important to process the emotions through a traumatic experience, but it's very important to also process and move forward, because if you're constantly stuck in the past and what has happened and you can't forgive and let go, then it's impossible to thrive and be happy and to move forward. Anxiety is all about the future and constantly thinking of what could happen. Does that person think of me, or what will happen? So if you are suffering from one or the other or both, just really become aware of what you're thinking about that starts to make you feel down. Is it something in the past that you're bringing up to the surface, or are you thinking about what you have to do? And this could be as simple as stressing just about the shopping and picking up the kids, and I've got to do this, got to do that. That constant thinking of what's going to happen in the future. That's a form of anxiety, right? Rather than just being present and now. And one of the great tools that I've found to interrupt anxiety and stress and depression is gratitude. So I took up doing 3 gratitudes on a daily basis with a gratitude journal. I just had that on my bedside, and every day I'd wake up and I'd just write down 3 gratitudes, 3 things that I'm grateful for. And it could be as simple as the roof over my head, my beautiful family, like you see in this photo here. How can you continue to be sad and depressed or anxious when you can appreciate something so beautiful? So if you can interrupt any of those negative emotions with some positive affirmations and gratitudes, I highly recommend having a journal on your bedside. First thing you do when you wake up, write down 3 positive gratitudes. You could even do this throughout the day as negative emotions arise. And I did do that for about a year solid. I don't do that every day now. I don't feel I don't need to. If I feel like I will, I'll go back to it. But I still practice my affirmations and have mantras, etc., just to get me back into present moment and what to be grateful for. So 5 stress facts just to share with you guys about, how you can become disconnected through our 3 brains and through our mind, body, and spirit. Is the body doesn't care if it's a big stress or a little stress. So it doesn't matter if it's just, I don't like the way the dishes have been done, or a serious life occurrence like losing a job or something like that. The body still has hormones and chemicals that are released into the body, and the body has to deal with them. So just be aware, big and little, it's still stress. So stress can make smart people do stupid things. I don't know about you guys, but I'm human. I've done some and said some stupid things when I haven't been thinking, and when emotion comes into play, when anger arises or something like that. And one thing that I feel like I've really benefited from is just a growing awareness and consciousness, and allowing space between thought and action. So, some people may go, oh, well, that sounds like a little bit airy. Everyone's just, everything's happening so fast these days. The technology speeding us up. We're thinking fast. We're talking fast. Caffeine is driving us. So I encourage you to just find some space between the thoughts, take up some meditation, or just connect to some breath, and avoid those stupid things. Bring some consciousness into your life. People can become numb to their stress. I know for me, stress was almost like an energy system, like the adrenaline. I worked in a high stress IT environment, and the adrenaline of having to have something done by a deadline and thousands of people relying on you to get it done was like it was an energy system. But I'm here to tell you there's ramifications, there's side effects to be running on adrenaline 24/7. You get adrenal fatigue. What's more common in women these days is thyroid conditions, and the body starts to break down. So the less we can stress, and I also do believe that stress can be the cause of a lot of our chronic illness that we see this day and age. You look back not far in time, only a couple of 100 years, when life wasn't so high paced and we didn't have so many expectations of ourselves. We just had to worry about how many grubs we collected from the trees and berries from the bush to survive. There wasn't many things to really stress about. Then there was no chronic illness. These are all illnesses that we've made ourselves in this very powerful mind of ours. One thing that also became very profound to me was that we can control how we respond to stress. And a matter of fact, it's one of the only things that we have full control over. We only have full control over our thoughts and our words, and nothing else in this world. So to be able to relinquish control is going to help you on so many levels. But then to also be aware that we can control stress, because stress basically is just the inability to be able to handle the fluctuations of life, or what life throws at us. Confronting, but true. So the best strategy is to handle stress in the present moment. One of my favorite tools is just to go for a walk. Disconnect from the thoughts, or if you need to process what has made you stressed, then have a think about it. Go for a walk, do some exercise, and just breathe, get the blood flowing. So I also wanted to provide a couple of nourishment tips for you guys. So this is completely outside of essential oils, right? This is really holistic approach to health, and like I said, I thought I was a pretty healthy guy, going to the gym every day, and not really having much emotional intelligence, and eating my tuna sandwiches, and eating oats for breakfast, curries for dinner, typical diet. Um, but yeah, this emotional intelligence was something that I was really missing. So, especially since doing my yoga teacher training, bringing attention to breath is one of my favorite tools. And one of my number one health priorities that I often have to remind myself, because like I was saying before, this is an autonomic function that just happens, right? We don't really appreciate that breath. We won't survive for more than 2 minutes without breath. So why wouldn't we bring most of our attention to our breath and make sure we're doing nice deep breaths? Just taking some nice deep breaths whenever we're feeling stress is probably one of the best things that you can do. Another one of my favorite tools is connecting to body consciousness. So this isn't to be confused with vanity and staring at ourselves in the mirror and being really conscious with how I look today. This is the light emanation in our body, which is that cellular intelligence that I was talking about. This is body consciousness that we can tap into just by not thinking about it, but feeling it in our body. To me, I believe that's enlightenment, is the true one felt being with consciousness in our body's consciousness outside of the mind, in just that state of being. I highly recommend reading Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now and A New Earth. This is the concept where I was introduced to body consciousness. Rest and stress management. This is huge. Sleep. This is so important. We discount sleep so much. We can't go out and do all the other things that bring health, like exercise, if we're not sleeping well, or if we're stressed. We're actually doing more harm to the body if it's not well rested and we've got our stress under management, under control. So make sure you're getting some good rest and sleep. Put your lavender piece on. doTERRA does the Serenity gel caps, which are fantastic. You take them internally, put your balance on, get your diffuse going on your bedside. We'll talk a bit about that in a bit. One of the things that I love about the oils is the management of rest and stress. Drinking lots of good alkaline water. We have a water filter, so slightly pH. Eat clean and organic whole foods. It doesn't need to be the perfect granddaddy Pumbaa diet with no impurities whatsoever. I like to consider it as the best efforts, because I believe that if we put too much stress on ourselves of every little thing that we're putting in, be aware of it. Yeah, be conscious and aware of what you're putting in your mouth. But if we're stressing, mate, it's a stress. It's another stress about our diet, and we're so strict about it, then you're doing more damage than you are good. Just keep it simple. Clean, organic, whole foods. Vegetarian, a little bit of lean meat, in my personal opinion. There's lots of opinions, and everybody's different as well. You need to experiment and find what works for you. Getting out in nature. This is one of the best things you can do. Just, looking at the trees, animals, the wind. Sitting under fluoro lights in an office all day is not going to make you feel fantastic. Get outside. Use essential oils. There's no point in having essential oils just sitting on your bedside or in the box that you receive them in. You've got to actually open the box. You've got to open them up, take the lids off, and start to use them aromatically, topically, and internally. And all of these things, like I said before, this is just a daily practice. It doesn't have to be something where you have to do it all in one go. So I recommend just introducing one thing at a time. And even if it is just bringing attention to your breath, or putting a little bit of lavender piece underneath your feet on the back of your neck at night to aid with sleeplessness. Just one step at a time. This happens over a long period of time. But being human and being caught up in habits as we do, we need to practice these new things daily. We need to do them at least for 30 days daily to create a new healthy habit. And when I say we're also human as well, we're going to have thoughts that surprise us when we become aware of the things that we think, do, and say. So don't beat yourself up. Just be aware of it and just, oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, I'm going to choose this different thought, action, and behavior. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how the essential oils support our bodies and how they interact with our bodies. So we talked a little bit about the cells before, and the chemicals or hormones that our emotions, how they're perceived in our cells. So the essential oils are perceived in a very similar way to the way that our emotions are. One thing the essential oils do is they restore cell receptor sites. So if we've got a barrage of negative emotions, toxic emotions, or just adrenaline, for example, and a lot of it, their cell receptor sites are getting worn out, and our cells are filled with all of these heavy, dark energy and emotion. So what the essential oils do really well is going into these cells and clearing out these negative emotions, these dark emotions, or emotions that are just inundated in our cells. And it restores this healthy cell function. So one thing I like to remind people about the essential oils is, yeah, they are an amazing catalyst and an amazing tool to use in health, but it's not the be all and end all. You can't just use an essential oil and it just be the answer to everything health. You do need to do all those other things that we were talking about. It's a great awakening, a great awareness tool, but you do need to do the other things that we talked about. Another thing there, sorry, we just didn't touch on, was the physical and emotional detox. We've got a picture of wild orange there, going onto one of these cells with the cell receptor. One of my experiences with wild orange is, and this is one of the oils that a lot of people are introduced to doTERRA with, and it's one of the oils that I used a lot of when we first were introduced to doTERRA. And I used to put it in my my water bottle, glass water bottle, and I'd take that to work, and I would put wild orange into my my water bottle, and I found that really just helped lift my mood out of that heavy fluoro light, sitting at my desk all day looking at a computer screen mood. And wild orange is just so good at cleansing out those negative emotions, great for anxiety and depression, and restoring the cell receptor sites. So this is something that I really encourage people to do. If you have wild orange, use it in water. You could start with 3 to 4 drops with 5 600 ml bottle, and that really helped me. So our essential oils are highly complex, just like our bodies. I do believe that it's amazing what modern science has found about our bodies, and we're constantly learning new things every day. But I don't know if we'll fully understand our bodies completely, during our time and our existence. It's thanks to millions of years of evolution, and it's such an intricate piece of machinery that we really do need to respect. But even though there's such a complicated machine, health is really simple. We can make it simple. But because these essential oils are so complex in comparison to, say, a synthetic form of an essential oil or a drug, it's a single compound where essential oils are composed of thousands of compounds. So we may use an essential oil to help with an emotion, but lo and behold, we're actually helping alleviate muscular pain, or maybe we've released an emotional stress that's held in our body. And sometimes that's what stress does. It is actually, it presents itself as a physical form. And I can actually, be a testament to that, because recently I have been stressed. I've been traveling a lot. I've just had recent couple of passings in my family, and I broke out in some eczema. So I believe this is caused by stress mostly, because in the past I've got that, and I haven't had it for several years, but it's when I've been stressed that I get the eczema. So it was really interesting that it's came up again. It was a really good awakening for me to go, hey, Byron, slow down. What are you doing? Like, you're obviously thinking too much, or you're not sleeping enough, or something like that. So I use it as an opportunity to see what's out of balance, and start to bring that back into balance. Obviously, we need to choose our oils carefully. Oils ain't oils, as John Laws would say. doTERRA, they're the best you can get, in my opinion. They go through lots of testing, sourced from the origin. They're the bomb. Most of you guys will have them that are watching this. So I think I'm preaching to the choir if I go on too much about that. And I wanted to show you guys how to use essential oils for emotional wellness, and a couple of the favorite ones that I use on a daily basis, because they can help our physical and emotional health. And I'm going to show you how some of the ones that I use for balancing and managing emotions that also help my body too. So we all know about aromatic use of the essential oils, and it can be as simple as just taking the lid off. And this is one of my favorite. This is a freshie. Taking the lid off and just smelling directly from the bottle. And this is one of the things I love to do before I present, or get up on stage, or if I'm feeling just a little bit anxious. And I'll just take the take the lid off a bottle of lavender or lavender peace, and I'll just sit there, connect to breath, the sensation of the breath as it comes into the nose, and smell the aromas of lavender peace or lavender. And that really just calms the body, calms the mind. So our sense of smell, this is what's directly linked to our emotional control center. And this is why the essential oils are so profound in just smelling them. But there are also other ways to use them. So like I said, with the lavender peace, I use this every day, and I just get a couple of drops, and I just put them into my palm like so, and I just rub them onto the back of my neck. Also put a couple of drops on my feet. So about 2 to 3 drops on the back of the neck, and also underneath the feet. You will smell them when it's on your neck. Some people put them on their pillow. I say, stop putting them on your pillow, start putting them on your body, because your body is also going to benefit from having the oils on the body, right? As long as they're good doTERRA, pure and therapeutic oils. There's also diffusing as well. So we do diffuse lavender peace on the bedside. Every night we usually fumigate the room about half an hour before we go in, and it's just this serene place of calm and beauty, and you get to experience your dreams again. I'm not sure how many of you out there who have had insomnia, and when the last time you dreamt was. So when you start to dream and have these cool dreams and these deep sleeps, and you wake up feeling fresh, it's really, really cool. Also, if you're feeling very, very like an anger, or you're fiery, or you have just a burst of anger, using the lavender peace during those periods is good. So it's not just for nighttime. You can use it during those times of high stress and anger outbursts, etc. So topical use, we talked about the 3 brains. And so these are 3 common places that you can actually apply the oils to, the places that are out of balance. So one of the places that I actually apply balance to is the back of my neck, especially if I've already got shoes on, because balance. This has frankincense in it, and it actually goes through into your blood-brain barrier, and it can actually help support the brain and our emotions, our emotional control center. So using them on the heart, one of my favorites, you can use easy air. And this just opens up our respiratory. It'll also feel like we're opening up our heart, our chest. Ylang ylang, also great for managing stress and heart conditions as well. Our digestive, so those people who are suffering from anxiety and their guts out of whack, applying Digest Zen over the bowels. And you combine these, applying it on these three areas, which are actually chakra points. You can combine these with affirmations. So over the heart, I would say, I'm giving and receiving love openly, effortlessly, and unconditionally, with grace and ease, and apply them in a circular motion. Over the bowels, I'm confident, powerful, and successful in all my ventures. So this is anxiety. It's about confidence. It's about being confident and that gut being nice and strong. The butterflies, this is a good way to describe that gut feeling in the gut brain. There's actually almost just as many neural brain functions in our gut than there is in our mind. So we can't discount our gut brain and connecting into that gut feeling. Modern science is just starting to discover that the gut actually has the ability to repair itself in terms of its neural function or its brain functions. They haven't proved that we can repair and replace our brain cells yet. I'm sure it happens. It just hasn't been proved scientifically, but they have proved for the gut. Interesting little fact there. So balance, grounding. It's called the grounding blend. So there's no surprise that balance is grounding. So I apply this 2 to 3 drops on the bottoms of my feet and or the back of my neck. If I feel like I need some serious grounding, then yeah, I'll do both. And I'll put 3 to 5 drops on the back of my neck, just lather it in. Not only is it really grounding, but it also oxygenates our cells. And there's a great video out there on YouTube. You can look up Dr. Hill balance blood cells is the search that you'd put in. And it shows the difference between a blood sample that he's taken before applying balance and then after, and how it changes the blood cells and how plump and oxygenated and free flowing they are after using the balance essential oils. I also like to think or call the balance an invitation to spaces as well. So I've said invitation to consciousness there. And the reason why I've said that is because I believe consciousness can only be achieved when you do have connection to those spaces of no thought, of having just a little bit of time to think about a conscious choice and reaction to a given situation. I've had multiple testimonies about this where people have just been using the balance and said, Byron, like this situation, it arrived, and usually I would just be like, cat out of a bag, just straight at someone's neck, but I just felt so calm and it was quite surreal. So it's great when I get these stories from people as well who are experiencing the same thing as me. So the third and main way is internal. So doTERRA oils, they can be taken internally. On the bottle, it does say for internal use, if you can use them internally. So if you're confused about what you can and can't take internally, it's on the bottle. It's also in the Modern Essentials book and the Essential Life book. I recommend having really good reference material in those books or the apps. But one of the, there's a couple of ways we can take them internally. One of my favorite ways with the frankincense is just to take the lid off and just put a couple of drops on the tongue. So you can put that underneath your tongue and just allow that to be absorbed into our bloodstream. We've got a bunch of capillaries that will absorb the frankincense into our bloodstream, or you can put it on the top of your tongue as well and lift your tongue to the top of, or the roof or the soft palate of your mouth, so it can actually get through into your brain and impact your emotions and your mood. I think if you just put them in your mouth and just hold it there, then you get a similar result. Other way you can do it is you can put them in a veggie cap. So doTERRA do veggie caps. There's a very profound blend called DDR Prime, which stands for damaged DNA repair. It has frankincense and lemongrass, wild orange, neroli, and this is specifically for inflammation, but it is fantastic at managing mood and negative emotions. For all the men out there that have grumpy old man syndrome, some women have it too, try DDR Prime. It is amazing. So with the frankincense, done the little demo there. If you're feeling a little bit low, you can also do this daily as a proactive measure. And these 3 oils I do use daily. So frankincense, let's put a couple of drops on or under the tongue, and this boosts my mood. It also it supports my immune system. There's a saying that goes, if in doubt, use frankincense. So you can pretty much use it for just about everything. Just chuck in frankincense for good measure. But also supports our whole body and mind, our cells. It will aid in the repair of DNA and DNA integrity, as well as skin, fine lines and wrinkles. The uses for frankincense are just endless. I recommend looking at the Modern Essentials book or app to just get a really good idea of how frankincense can support and aid us with some of our health concerns that we may have. So there's also this great lifelong vitality pack that I always tell people about, that Renee and I take on a daily basis. And this will support those 3 brains that I'm talking about. So we actually saw a huge change in Renee's digestive inflammation, especially when we started taking this lifelong vitality pack. And it's mostly due to this alpha CRS, which is a proprietary blend all about inflammation. Also improves energy, so it makes us feel more energetic, younger, longer. Our omega is really important to support our brain function, our nervous system function, our joint health. There's also essential oils in the omega as well. You can actually get this in a vegan version too, which is just made of plant omegas in flaxseed and pomegranate seed, etc. Then you've got our Microplex VMZ, and as a joke, I say this is the space between cheeseburgers, because very few diets are perfect, and this will fill the gaps in those essential vitamins and minerals that we need on a day-to-day basis. There's also gut cleansing products and protocols that you can do, and I highly recommend. A clean gut is a clean and clear mind. So GX Assist, this is a blend of oregano and caprylic acid and a bunch of other essential oils that are really good at just clearing out our digestive tract, our lower digestive tract, especially with candida as well, that foggy mind from having a lot of yeast-rich diet or acidic-rich diet that we have this day and age, breads and beers and coffee, etc. So to clear that out, you do the GX Assist for 10 days, PB Assist for 5 days. You can take up to 3 of those daily. I suggest doing this cleanse when you've got not much on. Don't put too much on your plate. It is a serious detox, and your energy will be sapped a little bit. You can still take the lifelong vitality to keep you going, drinking lots of lemon water to just clear it out and keep your mood lifted. But don't go into this detox willy-nilly. I suggest also introducing an alkaline diet. Try to refrain from eating lots of breads and drinking beer and coffee and all those things. But it's a great, really simple detox that can be achieved over a 15-day period with those 2, GX Assist and PB Assist. Drinking lemon I do that on a daily basis every morning, but when you're doing that detox, you can do it throughout the day with water. Zendocrine, this is more about detoxifying our filtration, our liver, and our endocrine system, our glandular system. You can apply it topically and also take it internally as veggie caps. And then we've got Terrazyme. That's a 30-day detox cleanse, the Zendocrine. You can do that at the same time as the GX and the PB, or you can do it separately. I recommend doing it separately. The Terrazyme is all about helping people who have difficulties in digesting food. And all it is this natural plant enzymes. Because guess what? Our food is so free or lacking in natural digestive enzymes that we've relied on for thousands, millions of years, that we're actually supplementing it here with the Terrazyme. So it's basically just enzymes in vegetables that we're putting into our gut to aid with digestion with that Terrazyme. So IBS and other digestive conditions will really help digest food with that supplement. So what do you guys want to plant? What do you think that you can replace with something that's going to actually nourish your mind, body, and spirit? What habit can you put in place today? What can you do to allow your mind, body, and spirit to thrive? Because the essential oils, and I'm just going to touch on a couple of other essential oils here. They are moment by moment support, and this is presented in the emotional aromatherapy kit, which Renee and I love. It has the wheel. You basically just go, how am I feeling? How am I feeling today, wheel? And the wheel won't tell us. We just have to read it and go, I'm feeling pretty sad today. So when we're sad, we could use console or forgive. There was actually a recent study that was conducted in a oncology unit, or an integrative oncology unit. And in that integrative oncology unit, a lady who is the head of the unit did a study on these 6 oils, and she diffused all of them, used them on her staff, and then she collected results on how it impacted the staffs. Because as you guys could realize, that working in an oncology unit, you're going to be dealing with a lot of grief, a lot of stress, a lot of sorrow, a lot of difficult things and heavy emotion. So using essential oils was a great tool that they used. And hands down, every time with every test result, she found that the Forgive essential oil was the most profound in benefits, and she got the best feedback from, in terms of feeling less anxious, feeling less stressed, more encouraged. Attendance rate actually increased in the staff, so there were less people having time off because they felt they could actually come to work and deal with situations. So it was really cool to see that study and the information she shared. And what really resonated with me when she came up with Forgive, because it's no surprise, we all have a bit of forgiving to do, yeah? And I'm a big fan of Louise Hay, who unfortunately recently passed away, but she's huge on affirmations and how we can release or work through chronic disease and discomfort by actually addressing emotions, emotional stress. And she starts with forgiveness of the self, forgiveness of others, and works from there. So a little bit of food for thought on using Forgive. I like it over the heart, and your emotional state in forgiveness. Renee and I actually prefer the touch range of that emotional aromatherapy, because they're just ready to go roll-ons. So you just take the lids off, they're all pre-made, and you just roll them straight on. We love to use them topically. We do also use them aromatically. I'm actually diffusing Motivate now just to get motivated for my my webinar this evening. And there's great reference, like I was talking about. There's the books, but there's also these great apps. There's the Essential Emotions app, which you can just look up emotions and what oils to use, and how it impacts our bodies, how we can support our bodies too. So, make sure you get this reference material and you empower yourself to get on top of these emotions and using these amazing oils. So like I've said a couple of times before, you don't have to do it all at once. I realize there's a lot of information that that I've shared in tonight's webinar or presentation. But I invite you to just adopt or take on one thing, do it for 30 days and develop a good habit that will empower you and also impact and have that ripple effect on people around you. So our two most popular options for people to get started, which I'm sure a lot of you are watching this evening already have, but we've got the Home Essentials Kit. This is US pricing. It's $330 in Australia. And then the Family Physician Kit, which they call in America, which is our Essential Collection. And that one's $174. They're my two favorite kits because I believe that's just a really good all-around starting point, nice and affordable. And you can also build up your collection through the smartest way to buy, and that's through the Loyalty Rewards program, where you get up to 55% off. Could go on about that all night because that's a whole topic in itself, but I'll just touch on that and move forward. So for those who want to directly address emotions, what I recommend is looking at something like the Emotions Kit and the Lifelong Vitality, or there's a kit that doTERRA do called the Mood Management Kit, and it's comprised of Balance, Lavender Peace, Citrus Bliss, and Elevation. And those four oils are really good at managing emotions for all situations. So that's an option to the Emotional Aromatherapy Kit. But once again, the Lifelong Vitality Pack, everybody needs it. And our second month, I would recommend, especially if you have digestive issues, the Terrazyme and the PB Assist, the probiotic. The PB Assist is going to help with all of the good gut flora. So this is something that Renee actually takes on a daily basis. I only do it after I do a detox. I don't have as many gut issues as what Renee does. And then on the third month, you can do a Zendocrine detox and integrate the Serenity and the Balance. So another example, once again, of how you don't have to do it all at once. You can just slowly introduce things into your routine, into your daily health practices, and support you. Be proactive about your health. This is how we need to change the way we think about health. It's not just reactive and getting fixed when we need to. It's actually being proactive, being mindful of what we need to do to stay in a natural, healthy, abundant state. There's also emotional support for kids as well. There's A to Z chewables, the IQ Omega, PB Assist Junior, once again, helping the gut. And we can't go past Lavender and Balance for kids. Had great results with Balance underneath the feet for children. Once again, Lavender. This is the Swiss Army knife of essential oils. It can be used for bumps, cuts, and scrapes, and mozzie bites, and all the lovely things that kids love. It also has a mild antibacterial, antiviral effect as well. So applying the lavender on the bottoms of the children's feet at night is going to help address any of those nasties, as well as just calm them for a good night's rest. And you can diffuse the lavender too. So this draws us to the end of our webinar tonight. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining me this evening. I'm going to stop recording and open up the questions channel, just so we can be a little bit more open with our questions. And if you feel like there's something more personal that you want to share, that you don't want to share in this channel, then feel free to email me, call me, get in contact through our website, or you can even Facebook stalk me as well. So thank you for those who are watching this back, and I hope to hear from you soon. And those who